Hello ladies, gentlemen and fellow cryptids back on our channel. This is a result what the poetically more blessed and sophisticated would call late night eBay trolling, except that it happened on Katawiki, on broad daylight. So, yet another treasure to unfold. This is a very special thing for me, I love it. The year what we are looking for is 1897. This is a children's book. The history of Reynard the Fox, with some accounts of his friends and enemies. Turned into English verse by Frederick Startridge Ellis, with some illustrative devices by Walter Crane. And now I am
a librarian.
So, without further chatting, bubbling and just frolicking around, let's open the book. Some words about this fantastic book. It is literally a cycle of medieval and allegorical Dutch, English, French and German fables. The first extant version of the cycle dated from the second half of the 12th century. The genre was very popular throughout the late Middle Ages and in chapbook form throughout the early modern period. The stories are largely concerned with the main character Reynard, the anthropomorphic red fox, and trickster figure. His adventures usually involve him deceiving other anthropomorphic animals for his own advantage, trying to avoid consequences. His main enemy and victim across the cycle is his uncle, the wolf Isengrim. While the character of Reynard appears in later work, the core stories were written during the Middle Ages by multiple authors, and are often seen as parodies of the medieval literature, such as courtly love stories and chansons de gesture, as well as the satire of political and religious institutions. The figure of Reynard is thought to have originated in Lorraine folklore, from where it spread to France, Germany and the Low Countries. An extensive treatment of the character is the Old French Le Roman de la Renate, written by Pierre de la Saint-Claude around 1170, which sets the typical setting. Reynard has been summoned to the court of the king noble Leo the Lion to answer charges brought against him by Isengrim the Wolf. Other anthropomorphic animals, including Brown the Bear, Baldwin the Ass, and Tibert the Cat, all attempt one to stratagem to another. The stories typically involve satire, with usual butts are the aristocracy and the clergy, making Reynard a peasant hero character. Some of the tales feature Reynard's funeral, where his enemies gather to deliver maudlin elegies full of insincere piety and which feature Reynard's posthumous revenge. Reynard's wife Ermeline appears in the stories but plays little active role, although in some versions she remarries when Reynard is thought dead, thereby becoming one of the people he plans revenge upon. Isengrim is Reynard's most frequent antagonist and foil, and generally ends up outwitted, though occasionally. Pierre de Saint-Claude opens his work on the fox by situating it within the larger tradition of epic poetry, the Fablieux and Arthurian romance. Lord, you have heard many tales that many tellers have told you too. How Paris took Helen, the evil and the pain he felt, or of Tristan, that last chef spoke rather beautifully about, and Fablieux and epics of the romance of Yvain and his beast, and many others told in his land, but never have you heard about the war that was difficult and lengthy between Reynard and Isengrim. And now, please. The original written in French. I'm going to read it. My French is rather rusty, but I try my best for my greatest audience. Seigneurs, oyavez mein conte, quemen conter vous raconte, comme en Paris la ravi Elaine, le mal quiant onte la peine, de Tristan que le chivre fils, qui avait belement indice, et fabuleux en chansons de geste, romans divine and de Sylvestre, mein autre conte la par la terre, my onque nostre la guerre, qui tant de feu de grand fin entre Reynard and Isengrim. There is a very interesting bit about the mid-13th century Middle Dutch version of the William the Mother, and this is a very Dutch attitude because listen, Willem, who made Madoc, which often kept him awake, was so extremely annoyed that the tales of Reynard, which Arnold has not finished, remained unwritten in Dutch, that he had the life looked for, and following the French book he began it in Dutch as follows. Yes, complaining is a Dutch virtue, and I'm fully into it. So, a few words about our illustrator. Walter Crane was a British artist and book illustrator. He is considered to be the most influential among the most profiled children's book creator of his generation. One of the strongest contributors to the children's nursery motif and the genre of English children's illustrated literature would exhibit in its developmental stage in the later 19th century. Crane's work featured some of the more colorful and detailed beginnings of the children in the garden motif that would characterize many nursery rhymes and children's stories for decades to come. He was part of the art and craft movement and produced an array of paintings, illustrations, children's books, ceramic titles, and other decorative arts. He was a fluent follower of the newer art movement, and he came to study and appreciate the detailed senses of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, and was also a diligent student of the renowned artist and critic John Ruskin. A set of colored page designs to illustrate Tennyson's Lady of Shalott gained the approval of wood engraver James Linton, to whom Walter Crane was apprenticed for 3 years. As a wood engraver, he had abundant opportunity for the minute study of the contemporary artists whose work passed through his hands, of Pre-Raphaelite Dante Gabriele Rossetti and John Everett Millais, as well as John Tenniel, the illustrator of Alice of Wonderland, and Frederick Sandys. He was a student who admired the masters of the Italian Renaissance. However, he was more influenced by the Elgin marbles in the British Museum. A further and important element of the development in his talent was the study of Japanese color print. If thou herein hast all this sin writ, O reader, that of guilt convicts thy heart, make quick amends, or hast do conscience quit of all offence, God grant thou ne'er depart from wisdom's pleasant path. But shouldst thou start at all that taste, or fine road feeling shocks, spare thou the author, blame alone the fox.